George Kittle is very detailed in his analysis of all of his teammates. And if you ask him to break down a quarterback, he will do so in depth. And he's never really had very much to say about Trey Lance. Calls him a kid, says he's got promise, says like the obvious stuff about his potential and how he could become Josh Allen, but never really says specific stuff about what he likes about him now. Cut to yesterday. George Kittle's asked about Brock Purdy, and he went on and on and on. If you didn't see it, real quick, things he pointed out. He loves Brock Purdy's experience. Started 60 games in college. Well, that's a stark contrast to Trey Lance, who started 1 year. He loves that Brock Purdy both won and lost big games in college because it means he faced adversity and had to pick himself up. Trey Lance never lost in college, so that's something he didn't. That's another stark contrast between him and Purdy. Finally, what he liked about Purdy is the way that he commanded the huddle right away. Well, that's something Trey Lance even talked about. He had to learn how to do. He had to project his voice. He's freaking 19 when he got drafted by this team. So to me, those are three big things where Kittle's not coming out and saying it, but he's drawing a comparison between Purdy and Lance. And the comparison, once again, makes Purdy look good and Lance not so good. I don't know. Am I reading too much into this? What do you think?
Nah, you can see some of that. And even some of the things that Kyle Shanahan has said about Brock Purdy to the media. I think this kind of goes back to, and again, I'm drawing these parallels just to kind of bring a little context, but you specifically talked a whole lot about the mental makeup of Nick Mullins, right? And everybody talks so much about his preparation and what he did. And even when he wasn't playing, it's like he's going through all the plays in his head and he understood everything. And that is awesome. And I think you could see that, especially with a guy like Brock Purdy who has played a lot of football. Trey Lance can learn a lot from him. It was still like very youthful in Trey Lance's really experience just playing football, just overall, playing the quarterback position. And when you are – Trey Lance is younger than Brock Purdy.
That's correct.
Like,
That's
he's
correct.
Younger than Purdy, who's a rookie.
Yeah.
And when you look at Purdy and the things that he's going through, I think all those things are very pivotal. Think about Bill Parcells. And he had like this kind of quarterback commandment type thing.
That's true.
It's like, hey, if I'm drafting the quarterback, he's got to be
30
in college
starts.
a certain amount of years. He's got to have a certain amount of throws. He's got to have
wins,
all these things, right?
Certain amount of wins, certain amount of starts. You have to graduate. Have to graduate. So I mean, Trey Lance didn't fulfill any of those. Purdy fulfills all of them.
Right. So Trey Lance, there's still a ways to go in those type of things. The things that you just learned from starting 4 years at Iowa State. Yeah. Right. Just how to just truly command this time. Because think about when Trey Lance is at North Dakota State. He's still the young guy. He's a freshman. Yeah.
That's true.
Like you're still the young guy trying to command the huddle of guys that are seniors. So
that's right.
Brock Purdy, throughout the years, probably when he started as a freshman, maybe he wasn't that boisterous guy. Then sophomore year, he starts to get it. Then junior year, it's like, well, I'm the team captain. Then senior year, like now I've been through everything, and I'm the guy everybody looks to. And then you take that because you learned that to the NFL, and I think that's an excellent trait to have. And those are things that Trey Lance has to learn. Now, what we can't get mixed up is under no circumstances will how do I word this? I told myself I'm not going to be as I usually try to watch what I say a lot of times. Yeah. But I'm going to kind of let loose a little bit.
Don't hold back. Go ahead, dude.
They are not Trey Lance, whether it's Brock Purdy or Jimmy Garoppolo. Like the things that Trey Lance can do, the things that Trey Lance brings to an offense, like they can't do that. It's just, all right, Trey, that's great that you do these things, but now you have to learn this part of being a professional. And Brock Purdy is better at those things right now than you are. Yeah. But the thing and how I look at it,
but they're learnable.
Everything down the line,
they're learnable.
Talking about 2 years down the line, when Trey Lance has more opportunity and he's learned those things and he's not hurt, right? And that's sex too. Well, there is no comparison between him and Brock Purdy. But those are things that you learn from playing, from experience. And Trey Lance doesn't have that for different reasons. COVID, that's part of it. Him being hurt, that's part of it. Like being unlucky, all those things. But over time, I mean, he'll get that. So that is awesome that they talk glowingly about Purdy like that, especially this year when you're not going to see Trey Lance the rest of this year and you got to depend on Brock Purdy. I hope he's all those things because you're going to need that for the 49ers to be able to win. And I think he showed a lot of that against the Dolphins.
Yeah, I feel like, Jimmy Garoppolo supporters have now jumped over to the Brock Purdy bandwagon, and they're a very similar style of quarterback. Well, I would call them dinkers and dunkers. They dink and they dunk. And I think some people feel like that's the superior style of football. I prefer what Trey Lance brings. I like the fact that he can do all the things that are physically difficult. He can get the ball down the field. He can move. And I feel like he can learn the rest. But Jimmy Garoppolo and now Brock Purdy supporters only judge Trey on the Brock Purdy, Jimmy Garoppolo spectrum. Like, oh, he can't throw a slant as well as Brock. Well, he sucks. He can't throw a screen pass as well as Brock. Well, he sucks. Like, those are the most important things a quarterback has to do. I disagree with that entirely. I mean, show me a quarterback who's going to win a Super Bowl dinking and dunking. I don't care.
Maybe, right? I mean, Tom Brady, he wasn't always airing it out. But I will say this. If you have any reservations about Trey Lance, I'm not going to – Trey Lance is hurt. He's not going to play. But I would say go watch my guy Jesse on Last Second Sports just put out a video. It's about 11 minutes long. And all the things that people are saying Trey Lance can't do. And
he does.
Shows all these throws. And it's like, well, Trey Lance doesn't do this. Well, you watch that. And now the people that want to push back on Trey, they're not going to want to watch that. Because you're going to see, like, this is the total package. We just can we get more of it from Trey? And please stay healthy, bro. So, yeah, but aside from that, I see Brad Johnson. You talked about dinking and dunking. And I think that's kind of aside from Brady, it's you typically need a little bit more. And I don't think Jimmy's really a dinker and dunker. I don't think so. I think he throws short passes within the context of the offense. So Kyle, now he doesn't have aggressive eyes, and we understand that. He's not really looking to push the ball down the field a whole lot. But all right, slants, digs, and breaking routes, I think he does those things pretty solid, with timing and rhythm. The thing is, as far as, getting more, you can kind of get clumped in or lumped into even like Mullins. Mullins did those things well, right? And, what's the difference that's going to take you, over the top? And I think Jimmy Garoppolo does some of those things well.
Let me say one more thing about what Kittle said about Purdy. And maybe I'm projecting here, but just listening to him gush about Purdy and how he's gushed about Garoppolo and the way they play quarterback and how he's been really reserved with any comments about Trey. And a lot of people on this team, it makes me really feel, it's just a feeling that a lot of the people on this team never really wanted Trey. From the moment he was drafted, they're like, no. And they're just not into it. And I feel like it sucks for him. And I'm not saying it's because he's black. I'm not saying that. But I just can't help but notice that a young black man from the other side of the country got drafted at like 19, 20 years old and came to this team and has been pretty much freaking unwelcome the entire time from everyone, the fans to you name it. It just feels like he's had to deal with bullshit. I don't know. There's a clip going around on Twitter right now from a call-in show. I'm not going to talk about it, but if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. Like someone just basically called in and said, I just really don't like black quarterbacks. This is what it is. And it just feels like there's been a lot. I'm not saying that Kittle feels that way. It just feels like that's what Trey Lance has been confronted with since he's been drafted here. A bunch of people are like, not my style. Like, ooh, really? Out here in San Francisco? That's depressing.
I think the quarterback position, a lot of people have in their head how they feel it's supposed to be played. Right. And I think there are guys that go through different things and different type of progressions in how they play the game. And, I think there are multiple ways to be able to win. And I think just the way that Trey wins might look different than some of these other guys like Purdy and Garoppolo. I would say that the way that Purdy and Garoppolo win will look different than a guy like Jalen Hurts, right? But at the end of the day, Jalen Hurts is one of the front runners for MVP, and his team only has one loss on the year. So are you telling me, I don't want the way Jalen Hurts has to play to win, even though the results are this dude is extremely difficult to stop? And I think kind of Trey Lance, as far as from an efficiency standpoint or what it looks like playing the quarterback position, fits more in that mode as opposed to what people think your traditional quarterback is supposed to look like.
It's just easy to romanticize someone like Brock Purdy for, a large percent of the population because he looks like a large percent of the population. He looks normal. You know what I'm saying? He looks normal. He looks like me. I could be like, man, I love this story. 7th round pick, go you, go me. Trey Lance walks up there. A lot of people are like, I can't relate to him. This is different. And I feel like, and there's so much skepticism. Oh, 4 starts? Nah, I've seen enough. He sucks. You wouldn't say that if he looked like Brock Purdy, though. Be honest. You know what I'm saying? So That's what sucks about this. And I can't help but feel like, Trey Lance is not on social media tweeting back at people, but how could you not read it, internalize it, and be saddened by it? Dude is like 21 and he comes out from freaking the farm in the Midwest to woke Bay Area and gets greeted like this. I mean, what is this, Boston? No offense to Boston, but like, what the hell is going on out here?
Let's say it's not a black and white thing, but it definitely is a play style thing. And,
sure.
And I think that's the part that.
But they're so intertwined. You know what I'm saying?
They are.
They really are.
They are very intertwined. They're like.
We'll stop.
Again, not to make it a black and white thing, but I feel like, let's say, Josh Allen had a different skin color for the first couple years of his career. What would the narrative and conversation be surrounding him? Why is the narrative so different between Jimmy Garoppolo and Lamar Jackson, right? Where it was like, everybody, Jimmy Garoppolo, all he does is win, he wins. And then you have Lamar Jackson, whom all he does is win. It might look a different way, but then it's not taken in the same. And, so I think a lot of it is play style, which, like you said, can be intertwined.
Right. And, one more thing. There are a lot of people who prefer Jimmy Garoppolo to Trey Lance, and they're not racist. And there are a lot of people who have a lot of criticism of Trey Lance, and they're not racist. If you're watching, I want you to know I don't feel that you're a racist. I'm just saying from Trey Lance's perspective, it must feel like, damn, I'm so unwelcomed out here. And I don't even know who likes me, who doesn't, and for what reasons, but it must feel icky. I don't know. How could he enjoy this experience the last 2 years? It must feel really, really messed up. I can't even imagine, man. Can't imagine. He has to sit there and listen to his own teammates talk about Brock Purdy like that. Like, are you kidding me? Where? Hey, man, I'm still here. I thought I was the franchise quarterback. Oh, I mean, it sucks. Kind of sucks.
All I gotta do, I mean, the things that I've learned in life, my stepdad, he told me this when I was like 10 years old, right? I asked him for $1 to get something from the ice cream truck. And he was like, no. I'm like, why? Like, that's not fair. He said, life's not fair. And I always remember, that just always stuck with me when he said that.
True.
Life's not fair.
Yeah.
And I don't even know why I thought it wasn't fair. But when you look at Trey Lance in this situation, maybe it's not fair. You're drafted number 3 overall. You have a lot more expectations than Brock Purdy. So for him, it's you got to block out any noise. Just go out, handle business. And if you handle his business, it'll all go away. And all the naysayers and everything like that, they'll love him. They'll change their whole I always knew. They did the same thing with Hurts. Hurts had last year 26 touchdowns, only 5 interceptions. First year starting, led the team to the playoffs. This guy got benched the last week, the year before, to Nate Sudfeld. And for Nate Sudfeld, and he got benched. And last year led his team in the playoffs, first year, and this year, they should be replacing him. Why? Because it looks different. You know what I'm saying? And then now you see what's happening, but people typically, they don't want to give that play style quarterback the room to improve. So
Philly does though. Philly has historically.
But good Philly for that.
Philly has. I'm just so surprised that San Francisco. The quarterback really has to look like Joe Montana, guy. Is that the issue? Does he have to look like Joe Montana? He's not going to be Joe Montana. You're not getting the next Joe Montana. Is that the problem? Does he have to have blonde hair, blue eyes? What's the problem here? It's so silly. I heard
Joe Montana on Sirius Radio, and he was talking about what he likes in a quarterback, and he didn't mention Trey Lance at all, but he did talk about Brock Purdy. And he just it starts with accuracy, just this, and it's this very kind of old school kind of way of looking at the quarterback position, and I think there are a lot of people that are still kind of stuck in what that is supposed to look like, and can't fathom what it looks like to not play exactly like that and still have to go through the ups and downs as anyone else, and then what it could look like on the other side. Until it does, and then it's like, that's an anomaly because Josh Allen did it, or but there's Josh Allen, there's Dak Prescott, there's a lot of these guys that have had to go through different adversities while playing the quarterback position.
Yeah, apparently they're more open-minded in Philadelphia than they are in the Bay Area. Who knew?